You are listening to KPCA LP Petaluma 103.3 FM and streaming at kpca.fm. Welcome to Women in the Situation Room, a project of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women. I'll be one of your co-hosts, Commissioner Angelica Nunez of District 4, along with Commissioner and Chair Tricia Allman of District 2. Today's show will consist of a panel discussion on the state of childcare in Sonoma County, moderated by Commissioner Peg Rogers of District 5. Commissioner Rogers, along with the panelist, Commissioner Wood, are members of the Commission of the Status of Women's Childcare Ad Hoc. Welcome, Commissioner Rogers, and thank you, Commissioner Wood, for organizing this episode of Women in the Situation Room.
Thank you, Angelica, and welcome viewers and listeners. I will tell you a bit about each of our panelists, and then we will begin the discussion of the crisis in childcare we are facing in Sonoma County, as in the rest of the country. Introduce our accomplished and distinguished panelists: Melanie Dodson, Executive Director of 4Cs, Mary Ignatius, Statewide Organizer for Parent Voices, and Jessica Wood, Commissioner on the Status of Women, Commission for Sonoma County. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Jessica Wood first, a passionate advocate and researcher supporting affordable, quality, and accessible childcare for many years. Jessica is working to complete her master's degree researching the childcare crisis here in Sonoma County, as well as in the country at large. She's a single mother of 2 children, working 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet, and at the same time, finding time to volunteer, and she participates as a commissioner for the 5th Supervisorial District. Jessica holds 2 associate degrees in Administration of Justice and Behavioral Sciences, a certificate for children in the justice system from Santa Rosa JC. She holds her BA in Criminology and Criminal Justice Studies and is now a full-time graduate student and working to complete her last year in the Master's in Public Administration program at Sonoma State University. Welcome, Jessica. So let's start, Jessica. Give us your experiences as a single mom and the struggles you've had getting affordable, accessible childcare, especially since we've had the fire crisis and the COVID crisis. And please tell us your story. How did you get involved with childcare as an advocate? And how did you work through your struggles as a single mom?
Well, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I sounded much better than I really am. That's amazing. I think I just want to start by, I really want to plant the seed of like what my upbringing was like, just because I believe that that has an impact on what happened to me. So basically, I I was raised by my single mother, and she was in a domestic violent relationship, and so I suffered a lot watching that, and then I ended up basically I was what you call a latchkey kid. I didn't have childcare, and so when she was no longer married to that abusive husband, I spent my days going to school and then coming home and taking care of my little brother. And so what happened for me was, because I was not being cared for and watched, and I didn't have, childcare subsidy or anything, I actually struggled a lot. Like, I ended up in a gang. I ended up as a teen mother at the age of 17, and I had problems with drugs and alcohol, and I became I'm a domestic violence survivor. So, and I just share this because this is not uncommon. Many women find themselves in a relationship where they think that the guy's going to change. I thought there would be a picket fence and we were going to raise our baby happily ever after, and that's not what happened. And I found myself needing to get out of a domestic violent relationship. And so what I had to do is I went on CalWorks, and thank God that I was able to get childcare. And that's how I was introduced into a system where, to help me stay working, I was given the benefit of childcare, and then that was exactly what I needed to continue to push myself up. And I decided to go back to school, and then I found out when I first got involved, I got a call from a Parent Voices organizer at 4Cs in Sonoma County, and she was Jackie at the time, and that's when Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor at the time, had line item vetoed childcare stage 3, and I was stage 2. And so for the first time, this was the first time where I was invited to be an advocate and think about something that not only benefited myself, but I could help. I found out that I had a voice and that I could help advocate for those stage 3 parents. And I saw many of them got kicked out or lost jobs, lost their childcare. It just devastated many families. But in and through that, I got to find out that I had a voice and that it was really important for parents to go to the state capitol and share their stories, because we're not just numbers, we're families, we're lives, there's children at stake, there's lives at stake. And so basically, then I started working at 4Cs. I became the Parent Voices organizer, and I got to take families to the Capitol and help show them that they had a voice and that they could fight for childcare. Just what I had seen throughout my whole time of being the Parent Voices organizer and just doing all the work that I had done was that I started to find out that I was one of the really lucky ones, because each year there could be 3,000 parents on a wait list waiting. They were not, their children were not in care. Their children were being babysat by their brothers and sisters, falling through the cracks. And it just dawned on me that like, I have to do something. And so I've been in school for the last 10 years and I'm about ready to finish with my graduate degree. But I look back and I would not be able to afford, as a single mom, $3,000 a month to put my kid in childcare. And so that being said, like, it just ignited a passion in me to want to help others, help other single moms, help other families be able to just find their voice. And really, childcare, it comes down to how important childcare is. And so, oh man, with this pandemic, I still in grad school working 2-3 jobs. I'm a substitute now, and I work from home and I'm not considered essential, and I have a subsidy, but it's on hold right now because the capacity of the childcare providers it's so decreased and there's not very many slots open. And so even though I have that subsidy, I can't use it right now. And so I found myself working full time, staring at a screen, teaching 30 students. And then my son's in the other room with no childcare, trying to do Zoom school by himself. And he's falling through the cracks, and I'm a substitute teacher, that's horrible. And then I just want to share what I've seen being the substitute teacher to these kids on the screen. I've taught as small as first graders, and I'll tell them to click stuff and they're like, I don't have anybody here to help me. And so kids are being left behind. They're being left alone. These kids are struggling. And so this is a big thing that we're going to see as schools open. We're going to have to invest a lot into our childcare infrastructure and just everything we can into these kids, whether it's childcare, mental health, just all of these things are all tied together, but it has to be like now, like yesterday. So I did want to share one thing that stood out to me in the beginning of the pandemic is I'm friends with, I would say, like a middle-class family. You have a 2-parent household, they own their own home, and one's a teacher and one has his nonprofit. And the woman is the teacher. And so she's trying to work full-time, teaching kids on the screen and trying to do the best she can. And she has 3 different kids, all in different age ranges. And they all have different needs. And it's just, I see the stress that this woman is in, and she doesn't have childcare. She probably doesn't even qualify for a subsidy, but I'm watching like her like meltdown and have anxiety and freak out. And this is like a middle-class family who doesn't, I'm not saying that the struggle's not real, but I just, when I see that happening, my mind goes straight to those vulnerable, low-income families who don't have the luxury of working at home and having a dad in the house. And it's just, yeah, that makes me really worry. So I thought I'd share that story. And then right now I'm walking with another woman, and she is a single mom. She has domestic violence in her history, and she just got out of it, and she got a job. She's getting her life together. She got a job at Taco Bell, and she's on Sonoma works right now, and her son is a 4-year-old, and he gets to go to daycare, and there was a slot for him. And I just look at like, yes, she is a mom that can utilize the services, and she can go back to school, and she can do what I've done. And so that is like amazing for me. Yeah, I feel like I don't know what other, can you let me know what else I didn't touch on?
Well, the fact that you got involved with childcare as an advocate because you were hooked up with Parent Voices is quite an amazing story. How did you find that resource? What led you to those resources? To help people who are listening, how do I go about finding that resource?
So I had my subsidy through 4Cs in Sonoma County, and they have a Parent Voices organizer. And that Parent Voices organizer, she would call, I think at the time when I was asked to step in and volunteer, I was given a call, but you can also reach out to your local 4Cs Parent Voices organizer and say that you want to get involved to help advocate, because now is so important and they need people. That's the hard part, is getting working families involved, because we're all juggling a million things. The last thing we can even be able to do is, oh, let me volunteer here, when it's super necessary. So yeah, I would say get involved in any way that you can. Call 4Cs up and say you want to talk to the Parent Voices organizer, and you can write letters to your legislators. You can write letters. You can call them up and just let them know, because if we have funding for childcare, then children are able to be cared for, and parents are able to really focus on what's at hand, and our kids are not going to fall through the cracks. So yeah.
One other thing is, what has been your experience in trying to find childcare now, or do you need that now? I think you do with your.
So yeah. So in attending, because I am doing a graduate level project capstone, and I've attended lots of forums and stuff on the state of where childcare is at, and what I'm finding is over and over, there's this, with the regulations that are being imposed by the state to keep everybody safe, a childcare center that can normally have 50 students is only able to have, and I know Melanie can probably go more into details, their numbers are decreased. And so it's really hard right now to find providers. I know lots of providers have closed down. My childcare place where my son went was at his school. So they're only offering a certain amount of slots, and it's to teachers who are working full time. So that doesn't help me. So yeah, childcare is scarce, and it's really difficult to come by. And we're seeing just closures of providers closing down because they can't afford to keep the doors open. And it's just, everything's kind of crumbling down around us. So there's a lot of work to do right now.
Thank you, Jessica. Very informative. I'd like now to introduce Mary Ignatius. She is someone who has been a powerful voice and an advocate for improving childcare programs on all levels at a national and statewide level, as well as here in Sonoma County. She is the Parent Voices statewide organizer, a parent-led grassroots organizing effort fighting to make quality childcare accessible and affordable for all families. She has had this leadership role since August of 2005. She coordinates, you must have been a very young child when she joined. She coordinates the work of its 13 chapters and implements the leadership development model Parent Voices has crafted for over 20 years. Under her tenure, Parent Voices has won the most progressive child care eligibility policies in the nation, restored a child care program that was eliminated, and protected child care subsidies for thousands of families. She holds a Master's of Social Work and Administration and Social Planning, and an advocate for quality and affordable child care. She was a fellow of the Ms. Foundation for Women's Op-Ed Project Public Voices program, and received the foundation's prestigious Woman of Vision Award in April of 2016. She is currently on the Assembly's Blue Ribbon Commission on Early Care and Education as a community commissioner. As her website states, childcare is an important component to the development of young children and the economic security of families. She is a parent, and as she says on her website, of 2 budding feminist sons. Welcome to our show. And could you briefly state for our listeners the specific services your organization provides, and then tell us what is happening with the governor's budget and what are the specific issues parents need addressed? Then what is happening when the child care union's waiting a seat at the bargaining table with the governor? And describe the Blue Ribbon Commission on Child Care and what has been recommended to the governor for consideration. And finally, what child care bills that are currently in the hopper that we can support. Tell us the trends you've been seeing with parents and families during COVID. And thank you, Mary, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is really exciting. I mean, I think Jessica just showed what our work is all about. It's finding incredible moms with so much passion, and on paper somebody could write off Jessica, teen mom, issues with drug and alcohol, survivor of domestic violence, like she's not going to care about childcare and public policy and how the government works. But Jessica, like a lot of the families who come to Parent Voices, have a voice, and they're not just storytellers, they're change makers. And she was, really humble in her story. One of our recent campaigns was to ensure childcare, when you receive childcare, that you can keep it without it getting interrupted, without you losing it, without you having to constantly bring your paperwork with you. And Jessica had this brilliant idea of, I'm going to bring all of my pay stubs that I'm asked to bring every 3 months to show what it's like. And I think you had 2 or 3 jobs, and you had to go to all of your jobs to get the pay stubs. And, it was very intrusive. And when she brought those pay stubs, it was really bringing real life to the state capitol. And the Senator Mitchell, who was the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, looked at her and just was like, I don't know how I would find 1 paycheck, let alone how am I going to gather 18? And so it's really making policy come alive and ensuring that the families who are directly experiencing these various systems, who are closest to the problems and the challenges, are often also the closest to the solutions and the brightest. And I know she's working on a master's degree, but she could have a PhD in public policy because of the ideas that come up. And I think the other piece of our work, which is not just about improving the childcare system, it's also bringing families in community and making sure that moms like Jessica realize that, wait a minute, this isn't just happening to me. It's happening to Jackie. It's happening to Anna. It's happening to Rosie. It's happening to more than just one person. So maybe there's something larger happening, and luckily we can support each other in feeling that struggle, as well as support each other in lifting up our voices. So I think she's the personification of Parent Voices services. You asked about the governor's budget, which came out in January. And I think, leading up to January, we were really unsure what was going to be in the budget. I think there was some, from 10 years ago when we were facing a lot of budget cuts because of, we just didn't know how the revenue situation looked. And, COVID had such an impact on the economy. So when January 8th came and the budget was released, there weren't cuts. So that was like a sigh of relief. There were some increases to childcare vouchers using some of the cannabis dollars. There was a proposal to expand transitional kindergarten for 4-year-olds. There was some funding to increase facilities to serve these TK transitional kindergarten children. And then there were, some COLAs and things like that. So, I think we had a sigh of relief that there weren't cuts. I think, however, the rhetoric we've all been hearing through the pandemic, I mean, we've always known childcare is essential. It was essential before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and it's going to be what really gets us to economic recovery once we return to work. And so because of that rhetoric, I think we were hoping that there would be a much more robust proposal for childcare. So I think that was disappointing. But that's the work of advocates and parent leaders and the R&Rs and the providers for us to really be a part of these conversations and discussions to make sure that the needs of families and childcare providers and children are being lifted up, and that we are really active with the legislators as they negotiate with the governor on what a final package will look like. And just today, because of federal relief that has come in, it came in December to the tune of almost $1 billion. The governor and the Speaker of the Assembly and the President of the Senate came to an agreement on how to spend $400 million of those dollars in immediate relief. So childcare providers who are in childcare centers, in family childcare homes, who might be a family friend or neighbor provider, they will receive a stipend that equates to $525 per child that they serve, and based off of enrollment, not just who showed up, because Jessica talked about the declining number of children who are showing up, but actually based off of the number you can actually serve, you will receive $525 per child. And that's going to be a really significant relief for these providers who have just been doing everything with all of the risk, with little support, and taking up for the schools being closed. They've just done extraordinary super shero work, and so this relief couldn't come at a better time. What else is in there? Oh, we're also expanding access to childcare for essential workers. So if you're a grocery worker, if you work in agriculture, if you're a janitor, if you're in the service industry and you're providing essential work, if you're working in the hospital, you will qualify for these vouchers. And what's really important is that a lot of these families who are essential workers have been on waiting lists for childcare for a very long time, because we just have not been doing enough to serve all of the families who qualify. And so for a lot of these families, this is really their chance to get into the childcare system. And so we're really grateful for all that they've done to care for our world while we safely stay home. And so, to the tune of 8,000 more vouchers will be available to them. So we're very excited about that.
And does that include the undocumented families?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, if you are on a childcare waiting list, they really want to know, what your situation is, how many children you have. And it should include undocumented families, yes. And part of the budget agreement also included $600 stipends for families who are on CalWorks, who receive SSI, and also undocumented families who are working and using an ITIN number, who are paying taxes. They would also qualify for that $600 or $625 benefit. It just came out today.
And is that one time, or is that monthly?
One time. It's one time.
Okay. And then we also have the rescue plan coming down the pike, which may be
that's right, with even more services.
Could you describe the Blue Ribbon Commission on Childcare?
Yeah, that commission was, when did we have that? 2018, 2019, 2019. And we spent a year really going out into California, holding public hearings, collecting a lot of information and recommendations from throughout the entire field. And we also had a process where we engaged families through focus groups and made sure that their recommendations were also included. And that all culminated in a final report that can be found on the Assembly Blue Ribbon Commission's website. And, you know, for many of us, it's really the field really sees it as a comprehensive report that they feel very included in, even though it was a legislative commission. It felt very grounded in the needs of the community. And so, you know, we've been able to implement several recommendations from that report, and we continue to use it as, you know, a guidepost along with those recommendations of kind of are making their way into the master plan, the governor's master plan. So, you know, we know what the solutions are. What we really need is the money to implement them. And, you know, you mentioned the president's rescue plan for $40 billion. He also has a care economy package that takes us into long-term planning as well. And so I think we're all ready. We've been doing the work, and we're just really ready for the money to actually be able to not do these little incremental things, you know, and finally really do the big, bold, necessary things that women, you know, I mean, we've seen all of the data. It's women who are losing their jobs, who are leaving the workforce, who all of the progress we've made for decades of increasing women in the workforce, we're seeing that kind of, you know, be stripped away. And so this rescue plan really has a gender and a race and class analysis that's really going to help, you know, level the playing field for those who have been left behind.
Thank you so much for all of the work that you do on behalf of families and the economy and everything. Just fabulous.
Absolutely.
You are listening to Women in the Situation Room on KPCA LP Petaluma 103.3 FM and streaming at kpca.fm. Today's topic is the state of childcare in Sonoma County, with Commissioner Peg Rogers as moderator, and panelists Mary Ignatius, statewide organizer of Parent Voices, Melinda Dodson, executive director of Sonoma County 4Cs, and Commissioner Jessica Wood of our own District 5.
And now I'd like to introduce Melanie Dodson, the Executive Director of 4Cs, which is Community Child Care Council of Sonoma County. She provides leadership through advocacy, direct service, and empowerment to parents and families, the child care infrastructure, and the community at large here in Sonoma County. And a quote from her website, Melanie Dodson has had the privilege of serving as Executive Director of the Community Child Care Council of Sonoma County, 4Cs, since 2008. Guided by her values of empowerment, equity, and inclusion, Ms. Dodson has dedicated over 28 years to childcare, early learning education, and nonprofit administration. Ms. Dodson holds a BA in liberal studies and a multiple subject teaching credential. She is involved on many levels with the various countywide organizations to support safe and healthy, educationally sound childcare. She has 2 young children who inspire her commitment to the field and our community's investment in our children. Welcome, Melanie. So, finally, could you briefly state for our listeners the specific services your organization provides, and then give us an update on the current childcare situation here in Sonoma County, including the centers, the providers, how are the Sonoma First 5 grant programs going? What recommendations do you have for the Board of Supervisors to improve the situation? And what is the trend you see happening currently with the COVID crisis?
Absolutely, a lot to cover. Thank you so much for having me this evening. So 4Cs, as you noted, is our local childcare resource and referral agency here in Sonoma County. Sonoma County is very fortunate. We have 2 R&Rs in our county, both 4Cs and River to Coast Children's Services, and we're sister organizations. Every county across the state has at least 1 R&R. And our core service and our core, when we were founded in 1972, it's really about parents. It was a grassroots organization when we were founded as a 501c3 to make sure that moms could get back to the workforce or get into the workforce and have childcare to be able to go there. So from that foundation, we've grown many, many programs, and the childcare resource and referral is kind of at the center of it. What the R&R does is we are your resource and referral agency, which means we provide you childcare referrals. So if you're a parent in any of our cities across the county and you're looking for care for a child birth to 12 years old till the 13th birthday, you call us or you go online and we'll help you find those providers in your neighborhood, near your work, where you're interested in having care, where you could leave your child. And we help you with consumer education. So we're going to teach you about what questions to ask those caregivers, where to make sure that you're finding the best place for your child, because we can't tell you what's the best for you and your family. We're going to make sure we're empowering you to make the best possible decision and give you all the tools to do that. We also run, so enable to support those parents. We know that some parents will call us and they can afford childcare, and that other parents, when they call, they cannot afford childcare. So a lot of our services have been built around that. So we also operate what's called the California Alternative Payment Program, which is a childcare voucher program. So families who are income eligible and working or going to school receive a subsidy so that they go choose their provider of their choice, a center-based program, a family childcare, a family friend or neighbor caregiver, and 4Cs, based on state rules and regulations, is able to pay the provider on the parent's behalf. Similar to what Jessica was discussing in the CalWorks program, we also run stage 2 and stage 3 childcare in Sonoma County. And then 4Cs is a unique resource and referral in that we also have 12, soon to be 13, California state funded preschool programs. So again, funding from the California Department of Education that funds preschool for our 3 and 4-year-olds. We have both part-day models, which is really to support the 3 hours, so families who are income eligible have access to high quality preschool. And we also have 7 of our 13, or actually I think 8 now, because the new one will be our full day program. So meeting our working parents' needs. So opening, 7 a.m. in the morning and staying open until 6 o'clock at night. So parents can really, drop their children off and then get off work and still come pick them up. Also, we run the Child Health and Nutrition Program. So we're similar to a school lunch program, family childcare providers who serve nutritious meals to the children in their care. We reimburse them for the healthy meals, and we support those providers with meal planning and planning activities around nutrition. And then, of course, as you've heard from both Mary and Jessica, 4Cs is the home of our Sonoma County chapter of Parent Voices, which we are so proud. I was actually one of the founding members of our chapter in 2001. And it was one of those opportunities where we knew we needed to bring advocacy in. And when we go to the state to advocate as an organization, as 4Cs, we're a state-funded agency. So a lot of the times it's perceived that we're coming just to secure our agency. But when we bring our families and our parents and they can tell the story of what our services are providing to them, it's a very different conversation. So we've always valued and tried to build on our Parent Voices chapter as much as possible. Some of the first 5 funding that our agency receives actually supports our Parent Voices chapters. We have our own leadership academy where we're training parents, working with them on public speaking and telling their story. And then we host parent cafes to really bring our parents together. So definitely a service we are incredibly proud of. And so great to see Jessica and see what she's been able to do in her time, kind of launched in from Parent Voices, but really because of her core, that she had this opportunity where she was given voice. And that's what we love to see. And that's what we want to do. We want to empower our parents. So I will dive into data now. So as the Child Care Resource and Referral, we have the list of all licensed programs, centers, and family child care in our county. And the pandemic has absolutely devastated the childcare industry. And you have to remember also in Sonoma County, the pandemic is one of many disasters we have experienced. So it's on layers on top of layers. In 2017, in the Tubbs wildfire, we lost 14 facilities to the fire. And since that time, trying to rebuild and keep, these are small businesses. That's the other piece of this. This is a small business and mostly women owned. So trying to keep them in business through the disasters. There's not a lot of support for our small businesses in general. And then when you add childcare on the top of that, that's even less. So 4Cs as an organization, we support 608 different facilities. That's both licensed family childcare and centers. That is the number of the programs that we had open pre-COVID, so March 2020. Today, of those 608, there are 396 that are currently operating. Those programs, as Jessica alluded to, are only able to serve at about 45% capacity. A center that used to serve 24 children is serving 12 today. And we understand why. We want to make sure our children are protected. Public health and the state has made sure that they're serving small cohorts. So we're only allowed to serve up to we can have individual cohorts of 16 individuals. So that's their teachers and the children at any given time. So 45% capacity. We know that 217 of our programs are currently closed. They may reopen. Those are the ones we need to make sure we support so they can reopen. And we also know that 42 of our programs have permanently closed. So very concerning about the loss there. So when you turn all those numbers into slots, we've lost 57% of our childcare slots across Sonoma County in the pandemic. At the same time, Jessica also mentioned the waiting list, or we call it the eligibility list. These are families who are eligible per state requirements, and they don't have a slot for care for subsidy. We still today have 1,500 children on that list. It has not dropped much at all recently. And I would say it's actually an underestimated number because we do not have as many families calling us right now because of all the chaos of COVID. And many families are home and they're not bringing their children. They're not thinking about looking for childcare right now unless they're desperate. And then hopefully they find us. Let me see what other data can I share. So I think historically, challenges in the industry, we have a mixed delivery system. We're not like public schools where it's all under one funding source. You have California Department of Education, so state funding. You have Head Start, which is federally funded. You have private small businesses, in-homes, family childcare, as well as private-based centers. Then on top of that, we have a wide network of family, friend, and neighbor caregivers who are providing care as well. Historically low wages in our field, where we know that brain development for our youngest children by age 3, 80% of their brain has developed, and by age 4, we're at 80%. And they have not yet hit kindergarten. And our teachers in early education are the lowest paid minimum wage workers. Access and affordability, we've talked about for an infant toddler right now in Sonoma County, it's about $1,500 per month for full day, full year care. And we talked about the disasters and the business sustainability. So many challenges in our industry. So I'll talk about a few of the positive things that are going on in Sonoma County, because there are some, and yet we still have a lot of work to do. There is a childcare resiliency fund right now it's hosted at First 5 Sonoma County, but it's funded by 3 different sources right now. First 5 Sonoma, the Community Foundation, and the City of Santa Rosa. So that fund has allowed our childcare providers to apply for small grants. I think up to $8,000 maximum, but just to help them pay their mortgage, pay their teachers, keep them in business. So they did a first round a couple months ago, and I think they just opened a second round right now. So there's another about, I believe, $400,000 available for that. So that's very exciting. There was another, what was the other questions? The board of supervisors.
You have for the Board of Supervisors going forward? What would you
Yeah.
like to see them support?
Well, and I think some real strengths we have in Sonoma County that really sprung up since the fires. The Santa Rosa Chamber of Commerce has been partnering with both First Five Sonoma County and Four Cs to work on employer-supported childcare. Basically, childcare is an industry. We need our community to wrap around the businesses of childcare. Employers cannot get their employees to come to work if their children do not have care. So how do we own this and invest in this collectively? We absolutely have to do our advocacy at the state level. We have to continue. We need our Board of Supervisors and our legislators to all stand up and really understand that to really lift our economy in Sonoma County, we all need to be making sure that parents can get to work and that children are cared for. And we can't just have parents going to work without children being in safe and healthy places. We want our children to have the best opportunities. And if we can ensure that they're in licensed and or family friend and neighbor caregivers that are culturally connected to the family, that are educationally thinking about the needs of those children, supported by like an agency like Four Cs, then we can really lift all of our families up and we can lift our businesses up at the same time. So it's really a hand-in-hand partnership. We all have to come at it from our perspective and think that what we can do. We do have some businesses in Sonoma County right now that are talking about building on-site childcare for their employees, which is extremely exciting. We are talking with all of our cities across Sonoma County about as we're building affordable housing, how do we build in childcare centers into those plans? How do we locally and at a state level invest in facilities? Our small businesses do not have the money to maintain the facilities that they're using, and they're often the oldest portables on school campuses or the oldest building that a city or a county owns that they can't take care of anymore. So the childcare providers are doing their best to make them wonderful for our children. So lots of challenges and opportunities there, I think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was reading the next question about the trends that we're seeing around COVID. The next big issue, I mean, obviously there's been challenges with the drastic reduction of slots. We're moving forward. You're probably hearing a lot about schools reopening. That is very, very exciting. Childcare does not have any new rules or regulations around this at this point, as children go from a childcare cohort into a school cohort. And right now we're not to be mixing cohorts of children. So there will be some challenges and things we have to figure out moving forward. We don't yet have guidance from our community care licensing. We don't have guidance from public health on how that's to be handled. And parents are going to be caught in the middle. So I think it's going to be, parents are going to need and want the childcare, and they're going to need and want their child to experience the hybrid learning or however the schools are structuring the children going back. So COVID has been one change after the other, and I continue to see that going forward. It's not a quick fix, but I think that's a conversation we'll be just starting to have. The other thing I want to share quickly is that the vaccination center clinic for childcare and all educators, we've been very fortunate that the Sonoma County Office of Education has taken charge of this for all educators, including childcare, early learning, family friend and neighbor caregivers. So we are in our second week right now of vaccinating educators. We are ramping up. Like any clinic in any community across our state, we are dependent on vaccine allocation. But we know that last week we did vaccinate 1,100 individuals, and this week will be 2,200 individuals. And we prioritized anyone who is currently working directly with children, which really meant that all of our childcare providers who have been working with children since March were at the front of the line, which we are really proud of and so appreciative of the partnership with the County Office of Education.
Wow. What a lot of work you do. I thank you very much for all that you're doing for the community and for the families and the women especially, and for you, Mary, as well. I'm just so impressed with both of you, and Commissioner Jessica. I'm just blown away by all the things that you do and the talents that you bring to the child care issues here in Sonoma County and throughout the country and across the state. And we will stay in touch and want very much to provide and promote whatever issues that you think that we can do to further the welfare of our child care industry. Thank you both very much, and thank you all three. And are there any final comments anyone wants to make? We have, I think, a couple of minutes left, or maybe a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? So I am curious, is there anything that maybe they've already made suggestions to you as being on the Commissioner Wood and Commissioner Rogers being on the child care ad hoc under the COVID, suggestions that they've made on what the commission can do to assist? And second part is the listeners, those that are listening and they want to know what they can do, what advice do you have?
I'll go quickly. One thing we are looking for support on is a bill that we're sponsoring. It's AB 92 by Assemblywoman Eloise Gomez Reyes. And it's to modernize our family fee structure for subsidized childcare. The way that structure is set up is it's just really old, and it doesn't really have rationale. And we're asking families with the lowest incomes to subsidize our childcare system, and sometimes childcare providers who the parents might pay directly sometimes won't even take the money because of the relationship they have, and they see what a hardship it is. And so we're really trying to modernize it and make subsidized childcare affordable, which I think sounds silly, but when you're working paycheck to paycheck, every penny counts. And so I can send information to Commissioner Wood and make sure she gets it to all of you if you do letters of support, and if you are a parent out there listening, if you pay family fees and you're struggling, a lot of the essential workers who are receiving subsidies right now are paying those fees. And if that is a hardship for you, please call Four Cs of Sonoma so that we can get you involved in our advocacy efforts to win that policy.
Speaking of calling Four Cs, Melanie, would you kindly share the phone number?
Absolutely. So Four Cs Sonoma, we're at 707-544-3077. You can also find us on the web, of course, sonoma4cs.org, sonoma4cs.org. I think based on the information we've shared tonight, I also want to share our Parent Voices organizer's name is Sandra Lemus. She can be reached at that same number, and she's happy to talk with all parents. And I think the other thing I would share is a lot of the items that Mary just talked about with the governor's budget. Those fundings come through Four Cs and will go out to our parents. But as the governor just approved those today, that does not mean I will have them anytime soon. Mm-hmm. It may be a month or two before they can actually get out the door. I hope it will not be that long, but it's a lot of work to get those monies out to the community, but we will do it as soon as humanly possible. We, of course, are also remotely working. So.
Yes. Well, Commissioner Nunes will be sharing the websites for both of your organizations, and you just shared your phone number. So, Mary Ignatius, do you have any other contact information that you would like to share, or is it just your website?
You can email me directly at mary@parentvoices.org. Join us on Facebook, Parent Voices California, Twitter. We'd love to get you all involved in any way possible. And thank you, Melanie, for giving out Sandra's information, because I was going to do that too. So perfect.
Thank you so much.
A plug in for what is that day called? Like that day of advocacy? What is that called?
And for Children's
Stand for
Day.
Children's Day. Thank you, Jessica.
So that's like
Um,
everything, right? What can
We
parents?
have a tentative date,
Okay.
which I believe, oh gosh, is May 12th. I want to say it's going to be May 12th this year. We don't know if that will be in person. The 2020 Stand for Children Day was virtual, and it was really exciting. We still had a great experience. Normally we bring 700 families up to Sacramento to march and rally and then visit all of their legislators to really put a face behind all of the numbers. You know, we'll see what happens with COVID. I'm thinking we're still going to be virtual. So we'll definitely send that information out as well.
So I'm guessing that'll probably be on your Facebook page as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook is a wonderful thing for these kind of things.
And we push that out through the 4Cs Facebook as well. Because we
Great.
usually, well, when we get to go, we get to bring busloads of parents.
Yeah. Jessica's son was an MC one year.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of the information tonight. You've been listening to a discussion on the state of childcare in Sonoma County with panelists Mary Ignatius, statewide organizer of Parent Voices, Melinda Dodson, executive director of Sonoma County 4Cs, and Commissioner Jessica Wood of District 5, along with District 5's Commissioner Peg Rogers, serving as a moderator. You may learn more about Parent Voices by visiting parentvoices.org. And to learn more about Sonoma County 4Cs, please visit sonoma4cs.org. Thanks so much. Women in the Situation Room is a project of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women. The Commission is currently accepting applications through March 5th from youth grades 9th through 12th to participate on the 2021-2022 Junior Commission, which is a mentorship project designed to develop and mentor high school youth for future leadership roles in our community. Junior commissioners are selected each spring for a term that runs concurrent with upcoming school year and may be eligible for school credit for their participation. To learn more about the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women or to apply to the Junior Commission or Adult Commission, please visit us at sococsw.org or on Facebook at Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women. You've been listening to Women in the Situation Room on KPCA LP Petaluma 103.3 FM and streaming at kpca.fm. Opinions aired on this show are not necessarily the views of PCA, KPCA, or its staff, board, volunteers, or underwriters.